Hey friends, today on the podcast brought to you by the Michigan Retailers Association, we head to Traverse City to talk honey with Hilbert's Honey. Jordan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic and super excited to talk to you as we're going to talk about honey. So first, for people who might not be familiar with you and where you guys are, where is the honey and what part of Michigan are you guys currently residing in?
Well, we are currently in about 6 inches deep of snow right now in northern Michigan. So we are in Traverse City. Michigan is our main hub in the state. We have pollination locations all over the upper northern Michigan. We have about 250 locations that we do pollination services for all over the state, but our main hub and our processing facility is in Traverse City.
Jordan, Hilbert's had a bit of a growth spurt in 2019, but before we get to that, I kind of want to go back to the beginning. What was the nexus to go, okay, I understand beekeeping and how to make honey. Now I'm going to turn it into a business. And then by 2022, it's this huge thing.
Yeah. So where it started was 1887 was the original records. So 135 years ago, we started out on Leelanau Peninsula, which is a huge farming area. We have tons. We're known for cherries and apples.
Sure.
And
yep.
Those sorts of things up in this area. So initially, the Hilberts were farmers and used the bees to pollinate their crops for a better crop. So when they realized, that they're pulling honey from it too, and it actually was such a niche market at the time, we specialize still to today in honeycomb. So it's a really hard process to actually extract the honeycomb properly from the beehive. So that's something that we have specialized in since the beginning. So that's kind of where we started, was basically just helping our own crops. And it ended up with, we have enough agriculture in the area that supported needing bees and pollination.
I obviously want to talk about the importance of bees here in a second, but I want to kind of stick on something you just said. So for people who might not understand the art of getting that honeycomb out, you guys are doing it not only artisanally, right, using the skill set, but you're doing it at scale. So how do you take something that requires that level of skill and kind of scale it up to an operation the size of current day Hilbert, right? Like not 1843, but 2022 when you've got a 10,000 foot warehouse. How does this scale up?
Yeah, so it's just been a lot of baby steps for a really long time. So just until 2019, we said recently when we built our facility, we have been working out of our garage on our farm. Granted, it's a 3-car garage and we have, a couple outbuildings and stuff like that. But we have fabricated, since the beginning, we've fabricated and added on to these custom built, we call it a comb table, a specified heating table and heating elements that cauterize the honeycomb so that we can get it in perfect, pristine condition. So it's really just been baby steps in improving to see where things will work better. Now we're at the point in 2022 that this honeycomb table that we have custom built and the knives that we have custom built to extract this honeycomb takes about half of our production facility. So it's huge. It's a 10-man line. That's for right now, and as we start expanding even more, it'll get bigger and bigger, and we'll just have to keep improvising where we need to get bigger.
A couple things here. One, as you and I are speaking, there's currently, I'm in Grand Rapids, right? There's currently 4 inches of snow in my yard.
Yeah.
And so for people who might not understand the biology of what's going on, what do the bees do right now as the world gets colder? Because obviously you have a facility. They are inside, at least in some of the stuff that I've seen. There are hives inside as well as wherever else they are. But what is a bee doing right now?
So winterizing bees is a pain in the butt. It is it's really difficult, and we actually don't do it in Michigan. We haul our bees to Florida, and
Oh,
we have
wow.
we have a facility in Florida that we have a multitude of pollinations that we can do down there during this time of year. So we actually don't even have to deal with winterizing our bees. But we did at one point, we haven't
Sure.
always had the facility down in Florida. So at one point, it's all about insulating your hive. You basically feed them and don't open your hive until the spring and just cross your fingers. It is a really, really hard task to successfully winterize your bees without any loss.
And yeah, I was going to say, I would imagine like humans that are doing home beekeeping, this is probably the moment where they lose the hive, right? They don't know how to winterize properly, and that's kind of the end of
Yeah,
it, and they start
yeah,
over.
it really is. And even so you already know that your colonies aren't going to be as strong coming into the spring as when you went into the winter. So you already take that into consideration. So if you come out in the spring with something, with still some movement in there, you're still good because they can, they build strength very, very quickly. But yeah, it's really hard as a person that puts so much soul into keeping
Yes.
something alive,
Yep.
and then not have to basically touch it the entire winter. You feed it honey, you basically feed it sugar, once or twice during the year, and that's it.
Wow.
You just kind of hope for the best. All the males get kicked out of the hive so that there's more room for
Yep.
more room. And basically they ball up and vibrate for the entire winter. They ball up around the queen, keep her warm and keep her safe. And that's really the main goal is to, if you make it out of the winter with the queen, you're doing good.
I want to ask a question about scale because obviously Hilbert's is continuing to grow, and I've done a number of pieces with Brian and Bees in the D. And for as small of an organization as that one human wrecking machine is, he puts
Yeah.
out an incredible volume of honey. But I'm wondering, like, give me like how much more are you because you guys are a huge facility. So in I don't know metric tons, gallons, whatever, however you're measuring, like in a year time, how much honey is coming out of Hilbert's?
A lot. So I don't have the numbers in front of me for this year yet, but from last year, we took around 200,000 pounds of honey.
Wow.
Um, so there's 12 pounds in every gallon of honey. As far as like how much it weighs, it's definitely more dense than water.
Sure.
So we have 275-gallon vats that we keep them in and store them in, and we have a whole wall stacked of honey of those huge totes. So last year it was just under 200,000. Yeah, it's a lot of honey, and so that does not include. That's just liquid honey. That doesn't include the honeycomb
Sure.
that
Yeah, yeah.
we pull out. So yeah, we do um, a lot of commercial sales to push out volume like that. Um, and that's something that honestly we have kind of started stepping away from a little bit. Most businesses start small and go for that bigger commercial bulk customer. And we kind of started there, and we're working our way back now to be able to keep our honey local. There's a lot of, when you sell commercial and bulk sales like that, there's a lot of white labeling that
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
happens,
Yep.
So not necessarily if that's a bad thing, you are supporting the economy, but we've gotten to the point now that we put our product in a jar for the first time and we have it on shelves, and we're just so excited to be able to kind of take over Michigan with it. And so, stepping back from our commercial and bulk sales has kind of been a big part of that. And I know some people kind of roll their eyes at it a little bit because you at some point you do take a financial loss for that, just trying to keep it small and keep it in your community, when you're already at kind of a bigger scale is, it is a risk, but that's kind of where we're at right now. We've dove into the retail market now. We in 2020 we finalized our brand and just started pushing it. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We have a small little store and we're gaining wholesale momentum and getting the honey out there. But to be honest, it's not really about the honey; it's about the bees.
Yeah, so
So
let's. I will ask. At the end, I will ask like
yeah,
how people can get a hold of it, right? But this is kind of where I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
get because,
yeah.
as someone who drives their neighbors crazy while I'm continuing to put wildflowers in and pollinating beds and all these sorts of things, and they're like, "What? Why do you want these things around?" Jordan, explain to people why we need these things around.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have food. We'd be really hungry.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, so 1/3 of our crops that are produced in the United States are, it's just important for bees to be able to give that to us. We wouldn't have 1/3 of our food if it weren't for pollination.
Wow.
That's insane.
Not a whole bunch of them, but some quick tips as we're in the winter, so people aren't going to start this, but as they think towards spring, because we'll get there eventually, right? What ways can people with their own homes kind of help facilitate? Forget if they're going to build a garden, that's not what I mean, but what sort of things could they do in and around their homes to make sure that they're a place that bees can kind of do their thing?
The biggest thing that we like to preach is we're organic farmers. We are able to keep our bees in no spray areas, chemical free, pesticide free. So that's one of our biggest things that we like to talk to our consumers about, and just a tip that not everybody thinks about. I know that it is like, yeah, don't spray, don't, no chemicals, but there's a lot of people that don't actually follow, that guideline. And a lot of, not a lot, but some of what we deal with colony collapse and stuff like that, a lot of it has to do with these high agricultural areas that, which we are fortunate not really deal with that. But so in other states, these high agricultural areas are dealing with multitudes of just death in their colonies because of the amount of chemicals that they're exposed to. So for one, knowing what is around your area. So that's a big thing with our livestock, is that we have such a good relationship with our farmers and their neighbors that we know if anybody's spraying anything. We can literally come and take our hives out, so that they are not in contact with any of that. So that's a huge thing in the spring, when we start gardening and stuff like that. Another thing is, when bees are first coming out of their hives for the winter and they're hungry and pissed off, they really need things like the grass not to be mowed. Something that is so silly, but it really, they eat a ton of stuff that grows in that grass. Clover being a huge part of northern Michigan area. And I know that there's many other things that bloom in the spring that the bees really thrive on, and their first trips out of the hive are like so important for the health of the colony through the summer. So just being aware. We do no mow May is around here, so not doing a ton of spring cleanup actually helps a lot too, until a little bit before summer, not right at the beginning of spring. I don't know, they're kind of silly things, but it's just stuff to be conscious about. That gives them a good head start.
I cannot impress on people enough, kind of just the power of the bees themselves, right? 1/3 of the food that we get, but the honey itself. If you're somebody who suffers
Yeah.
from allergies, I'm not a doctor, obviously,
Oh yeah.
but honey has helped me an incredible amount, right? And that's just because
Yeah.
there are bees around here who are making honey that I can use as a pollinator to make sure that
Yeah.
I don't really get allergies anymore, right?
Yeah.
So
Same.
people, Jordan, who are listening and think, okay, because The minute I heard I got to talk to you, my brain goes, okay, this part of the country where this honey is made, it's gonna be special. If people want to get a hold of it for the holidays, is there an online store? Do they have to come visit you? Like, how do they get a hold of Hilbert's honey?
Yeah, we do have an online store. That was part of kind of our rebranding in 2020. We opened a little storefront in our big facility that we built. And so you can get it right here in Traverse City and also online. And we're in a couple of small grocery retailers around the state as well. Nothing like Meyer or anything like that. Kind of just mom and pop shops. We're in like the Cheese Ladies down in
Oh,
Kalamazoo.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like so yeah, we're in quite a few shops downstate, but that is kind of our next goal for the next year is possibly finding a bigger distributor to be able to spread a little bit farther. Right now it's literally me here in the snowbank.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for the time. We are happy to hear from you and love the growth that's happening with Hilbert's. Have an awesome holiday season and good luck next year.
Thank you so much.